When you see, as we saw at the G8 summit this week, the major leaders of the world, of the industrial economies, saying, and these are leaders who haven't met their 2010 CO2 emission targets, saying we're now going to cut them by 50% by 2050. What do you think?
I think it's a load of old nonsense. The targets mean absolutely nothing. I mean, anyone can set targets. It's actually how you're going to achieve those targets. And this government's completely got it wrong. And the reason this government's got it wrong, it's not just this government, it's governments throughout Europe, but principally this government, is because it looks at climate change and environmental issues through the wrong lens, through a lens of utter fear. Without seeing the opportunities, the excitement, you cannot get from the kind of dirty, wasteful economy we have now to the clean economy we're going to have to develop without opening up huge opportunities, massive, massive innovation, massive investment, huge opportunities for people who see it. The government's blind to those opportunities. It only sees the downside. And the other problem with this government's approach is it has reduced this huge issue of the environment to carbon, just carbon. Not fish stocks, not biodiversity, not the things that actually most people relate to. No one relates to carbon. It's an abstract concern for most people. The environment's a hell of a lot more than that, and if you just focus on carbon, the policies that follow can often be perverse. You know, forcing people...
You yourself set a target of an 80% reduction in CO2
but the key thing is that we explain how we'd achieve that. And we'd achieve it in a way that doesn't require people to live like monks, it doesn't require people to do things they don't want to do, and wouldn't require this country to commit economic suicide. I don't think the example I just gave you of retrofitting homes, there's no downside there. Massive emissions reductions as a result. What we're suggesting in terms of energy generation, no downside. Huge opportunities in terms of creating jobs, in terms of rewarding homeowners for generating energy, in the way that they have done in Germany. They've got 10 times more people employed in renewable energy than we do in this country. One town in Germany, Freiburg, 200,000 people, produces more energy from renewable sources than we do in the whole of Britain. They understand how to use the tax system.
And they're still overwhelmingly dependent on Russian gas.
Well, that's true, but they're moving in the right direction. Every country has its weaknesses, particularly in relation to energy. But they're moving in the right direction.
In preparation for this interview, I looked at some of the things that were happening to look for signs that we could see a target of CO2 emissions being met by 2050 or even by 2020. And everything actually seems to be going in the wrong direction. CO2 emissions are up 4% since 1999. The basket of greenhouse gases has risen by 4 million tonnes in the last year. Road traffic's gone up. The government's going to open a new coal-fired station, which will not be clean coal, or very clean coal. It's not going to happen, is it?
I agree with you. It's not going to happen under this government. I mean, the awful thing is, I prefer the President Bush approach originally, which was climate change isn't happening, therefore we're not going to do anything. You know where you stand. This government tells us climate change is the biggest threat we've ever faced, and the policies there's a staggering mismatch between what we're saying is needed and what we're actually seeing from the government. And it's because the government just simply doesn't have, it's not even courage, but it doesn't require huge political courage. It requires a bullish approach, and it requires a bit of imagination, and the government has neither.